I'm 65 years old, and I can still do this. That's what surprised my doctor last winter. It surprised me too, if I'm honest. At my age, most of the men I grew up with can't. Some are gone, some sit in waiting rooms with oxygen tanks. Some don't leave their chairs much anymore. But I can still do this. And sometimes, when I'm alone in the morning light, tying my shoes without holding onto the wall, walking up the stairs without stopping halfway, remembering a name without reaching for it, I think to myself, maybe that makes me a rare gem. Maybe that means I might see 100. I don't say it out loud. It feels almost shameful to admit hope at this age, but it crosses my mind. The strange thing is, when I was younger, I never thought about 100. I didn't even think about 70. I thought about 40. I thought about promotions, mortgage payments, school fees. I thought about what people thought of me. Now I think about years in a different way. When you're 30, 10 years feels far away. When you're 65, 10 years feels like something you can hold in your hand and lose just as quickly. I sit at my kitchen table most mornings, same table my wife and I bought when we were 28. It wobbles slightly on one leg. I never fixed it. I always meant to. She used to sit across from me. She would drink her tea slowly. I would drink mine too fast. She's been gone 3 years now. Heart failure, they said. Quick, they said, as if that makes it easier. It doesn't. After she passed, the house became very loud in its silence. Every small sound echoed, the refrigerator humming, the pipes knocking, my own footsteps. That's when I started noticing what I could still do. I could still climb into the attic without asking for help. I could still carry groceries inside in one trip. I could still read without glasses if the light was right. I could still remember the phone numbers of my childhood friends, even though none of them answer anymore. These things felt small before. Now they feel like treasures. But here's the part I don't say often. Being able to do these things doesn't erase what I didn't do. When I was in my 30s, I worked 6 days a week. I told myself it was temporary, just until we were stable, just until the kids were older, just until the next raise. There was always a just until. I missed my daughter's school play once. I was at the office finishing a report no one remembers now. My wife recorded it on a small camcorder. The footage is grainy. I watched it years later and saw my daughter scanning the crowd before the curtain rose. She smiled anyway. Children learn to smile through disappointment. I told myself I was providing. That's what men did. That's what my father did. He was a quiet man. He came home tired. He sat in his chair and watched the news. He rarely spoke about feelings. I thought that was strength, so I did the same. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't absent in a dramatic way. I was just busy. Always somewhere else in my mind, thinking about deadlines, about money, about what could go wrong. I thought there'd be time later for long talks, for trips, for sitting on the floor and building things without checking the clock. Time doesn't announce when it's running out. It just moves. In my 40s, I started noticing small changes in my body, a stiffness in the morning, a slower recovery after carrying something heavy. I ignored it. I was still strong enough. I could still do this. Back then, that phrase meant something different. It meant I was better than aging. It meant I wasn't weak. It meant I was ahead of the curve. Now it means something else. Now it means I've been given more days than some. My best friend, Kareen, died at 62. Stroke. He had plans to travel after retirement. He talked about Italy for years. He never went. At his funeral, I looked at his hands in the casket. They looked smaller somehow, harmless. All those years of hard work reduced to stillness. That was the first time 100 crossed my mind. Not because I wanted to be old, but because I realized how easily life stops. After Kareem's death, I started walking every morning. Not fast, just steady. At first, it was for my heart. Then it became something else. It became a conversation with myself. I would think about the times I raised my voice at my son over small things. Shoes left at the door, grades that weren't perfect. I thought I was shaping him. Maybe I was just releasing my own pressure. He lives in another city now. We speak politely. We are not close in the way I imagined fathers and sons would be, because work will always find another pair of hands. Your child won't always be small. Your wife won't. That distance didn't happen in one fight. It happened in 1,000 small moments where I chose correction over curiosity. I can't fix that fully. We are cordial. We visit on holidays. But there's a carefulness between us, a space that never closed. My daughter calls more often. She asks if I've eaten, if I've taken my medication. She worries about me. Sometimes I want to tell her I'm fine, that I can still do this, that I'm not fragile. But I hear the tremble in her voice. I remember her scanning the audience for me. So I let her worry. There's something humbling about needing others. I used to think needing help meant decline. Now I see it as connection. Last year I slipped on the back steps. Nothing serious, a bruise on my hip. But as I lay there for a moment, staring at the sky, I realized how thin the line is. One wrong step, one missed heartbeat, and all the I can still becomes I used to. That thought stayed with me. I started paying attention to my body differently, not as a machine to push, but as something to care for. I stretch before bed now. I eat slower. I sit in the sun for a few minutes each afternoon. These are small things, but at 65, small things are not small. Sometimes neighbors comment. They say I look good for my age. They ask what my secret is. There is no secret. I was lucky with my health. I didn't smoke much. I walked more than I drove when I was younger. My wife cooked simple meals, nothing fancy. Lentils, rice, vegetables. But luck plays a role too. I've seen healthier men fall ill without warning. So when I say maybe I'm a rare gem, I don't mean I earned it entirely. I mean I survived things that could have ended differently. There's a quiet guilt in that. When my wife was in the hospital, she squeezed my hand and said she was tired. Not afraid, just tired. I told her she would recover. I believed it. I'd always believed in more time. I was wrong. After she was gone, I walked into our bedroom and saw her slippers by the bed. I didn't move them for weeks. It felt like if I left them there, she might walk back into them. You don't realize how much of your life is tied to another person until they're not there to share the air. Now, when I wake up and my body cooperates, when my knees bend without complaint, when my mind is clear enough to read the morning paper without rereading the same line 5 times, I feel gratitude. But it's not loud gratitude. It's quiet. It's the kind that sits beside grief. I think about 100 sometimes, not because I'm chasing it, but because if I reach it, it will mean I carried all these memories for that long. That's the heavy part of long life. You don't just collect birthdays. You collect losses, parents, friends, neighbors, a spouse. The longer you live, the more you outlive. There are evenings when the house feels too big, when the television fills space but not silence, when I wonder who will remember the details of my life when I'm gone. I wasn't famous. I didn't build anything that will stand for generations. I was an ordinary man with ordinary responsibilities. I paid bills. I fixed leaky faucets. I tried to be decent. Is that enough? I don't know. What I do know is this. The things I thought mattered most in my 40s barely cross my mind now. The arguments about money, the pride in being right, the extra hours at the office. What stays are small images. My wife laughing in the kitchen when flour got everywhere. My son asleep on the couch, one arm hanging down. My daughter's hand slipping into mine when she was scared of the dark. If I could go back, I wouldn't change everything. I understand why I made the choices I did. I was trying to protect my family in the only way I knew how. But I would sit down more often. I would listen longer. I would leave some work unfinished. Wouldn't always be across the table, and your body won't always say yes when you ask it to climb stairs. When I say I can still do this, it's not a boast. It's a reminder that today I am still here, that my legs still carry me, that my heart, flawed as it may be, still beats steadily in my chest. Maybe that makes me a rare gem. Or maybe it just makes me fortunate. If you're younger and listening to this, I won't tell you what to do. Life is complicated. Bills are real. Pressure is real. But don't assume there will always be more time. Time is generous until it isn't. And if you find yourself at 65, tying your shoes without support, walking into the sunlight without pain, remembering the faces you love without strain, you might feel what I feel now, a quiet sense that you've been given something fragile and precious. I don't know if I'll see 100. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. But this morning, I stood up without holding on to the table. I walked to the window. I opened it and felt cool air on my face. And for now, that is enough.